Welcome to the BamCam podcast with Jack Burnett and Alison Castellano from Eater Financial Wellness, a financial advisory practice at RFG Advisory. In this podcast, we explore how life and financial well-being are intertwined. We'll look into areas concerning motivation and attitude, financial planning, investing, and much more. Our goal is to empower you with the information and resources you need to help manage your money and strive toward the life you've always wanted. So sit back, relax, and join us on this journey of uncovering your true self and achieving financial independence.
Hello and welcome to the BamCam podcast with your hosts. Well, we have Adrian and Alison Castellano. We have no Jack Burnett today, but the gang is all here. I'm Wendy McConnell. Hello, and how is everybody today?
We're great. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. It's we're looking forward to spring at this point, right?
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Yes.
So,
okay.
and we've got some experts who can tell us about that spring weather here too.
Have you been paying attention to the weather, Adrian?
Always, Harmony. Always.
Okay.
So,
Okay, let's introduce Harmony.
Our special guest here today is Harmony Mendoza. Many years in the
Yes.
Birmingham market as a meteorologist on TV, just like myself. And so today we have brought her in to chat with us.
And while I was getting my start in TV, we both came from Tampa.
Yeah.
We hail from Tampa and we both went to Florida State. So that's kind of a big deal in this family. You know it and I know it, Allison.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is something that we take very seriously around here.
Harmony, tell us a little more about how you ended up in Birmingham.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of people go places for the job, and that's the story. Is I definitely can tell you right now, there's no way when I grew up, I said, "Yay, I'm going to go to Alabama from Florida." I mean, it just as a sheltered person, not really knowing much about geography or where things are. But my first stop was in Columbus, Georgia, and then I came to Alabama, and I tried not to apply at Channel 13, but it just found me. It found me. I mean, just the coincidental story behind that was I was getting my car insurance and the dude asked me what I did for a living. And I said, well, actually, I'm an unemployed meteorologist. And he said, my friend works over at Channel 13. Her name's Brooke Smith. Maybe I could call her. Anyways, he did.
It was meant to be. It was meant to be.
That's
So,
funny.
Yeah.
Harmony, a lot of people around these parts know you as hashtag the weather lady.
That's right.
Yes, you've created this persona. How did that come about?
Well, I mean, a lot of hard work and tears and eye rolls in the newsroom. I mean, Adrian can tell you, I was always infamous for going live when nobody wanted me to, ever. Nobody was ever ready.
Harmony pushed the boundaries. That's the
I mean, it's
best
called
way to put it.
being innovative, I'm pretty sure is what it's called. It's
Yeah.
Innovation.
Yeah.
But, I feel like it started because people would recognize me out in Columbus, Georgia, and they would say, oh, hey, there goes the weather lady. And at first, I think I would correct them likely when I was in my 20s, say something like, I'm a meteorologist, because everybody started getting all uptight about labels. And so eventually I just started embracing it and I really liked it. And I think there probably was a time during the Nokia phone age that we had a signature.
Yeah.
So I'm just used to signing off. And I do believe the internet is in ink. So.
And you've really used it, to your advantage masterfully. So obviously with social media, hashtags are incredibly important. And you have, every single post since I can remember, whether it be about weather or just life in general, you have always put that hashtag on your post. And so it draws your audience.
And there's a little bit of a method behind my madness too, because when I was getting into actually working at Channel 13, I was getting my master's degree at Mississippi State. So right when I got the job at Channel 13, I had to leave for Starkville for a week to go over there. And that was in 2010 when I did that, when I got my master's degree. Nonetheless, they had a speaker come and tell us about social media and how to use social media. It was James Spann. That was the speaker. And so he revealed some of his secrets back then, not knowing I was going to be his competition for the next decade. But he already had the market cornered and is always willing, honestly, to share information with other fellow meteorologists that want to use their voice to spread weather
Yeah.
information. So
You
it
know,
was a good relationship.
we were talking about, Allison and I were talking about this the other day. Life is full of curveballs.
Yeah.
And really what's important is how you step in the batter's box and you see that curveball coming, how you react to it and what you do with it. And we've been inspired by the way that you have handled those curveballs since we've known you in
interesting.
the short time that we've known you. But talk a little bit about what you've been dealing with inside of television
Oh,
news,
yeah.
and then outside as well. What have you been dealing with personally, and some of those challenges that you've overcome?
Well, I mean, I think the transition is difficult for any person. You know, I think a lot of people will likely tell you that the way that we present ourselves, especially because we were forced to, and you can attest to this, to just share more frequently. And even if it was weather information or personally, it's still sharing information. And so it definitely exhausts a person. So I had to get used to the fact that I didn't have to share so much information and have a multitude of conversations. I mean, that's the thing about when you share personal information on social media is you open yourself up to a conversation about it. And, you know, when people start offering their sympathies and their empathies, it's always genuine, but it can be very exhausting.
Of course.
Very, very exhausting. And I think a lot of the transitions that came for me during the pandemic probably were the same as many others, you know, but I learned a lot about broadcast during the pandemic. I had to be my own entire
Broadcast away from the broadcast studio.
one-man band. Yeah, I mean, we lost power several times at the station, and then we were just live from my kitchen.
Yeah.
Several times. And that was interesting. So my kid listened to a lot of news, weather, and traffic, which Adrian and I have to do a whole nother podcast on traffic. Maybe bring Eunice Elliott in on that, you know, because she's opening up about the truth about traffic.
Yeah.
But I do see how that's important in weather as well. But I like being a full-time mom because that's what I am.
Yeah.
The mom life is something that I honestly almost missed out on. If I would have blinked my eyes, I would have likely almost missed out on being a mom. My kid's in the 5th grade, going into middle school next year.
And I know you recently went on a field trip, which is something that would have been hard to do while you were working in TV.
Yes,
Tell us
to
about the
Montana.
field trip.
Yeah.
To Montana, and I got engaged. So I got
Congratulations. That's a beautiful
Yes.
ring. Thank
Look
you.
at that.
Thank you so much. He picked out the Jacob Rogers, by the way, is his name. I mean, we did have a discussion recently and he was like, well, how are you going to change your name? You're the weather lady. You're Harmony Mendoza. I said, oh, I guess we're not changing it then. So I guess we'll have that. We'll put a pin in that.
Yeah.
Put a pin in that conversation. But one of the stories I told as I was leaving TV was about finding my biological father. And, you know, we briefly touched about it and I did find him and recently have lost him. And so that story is still in the making right now because I just got back from New York on Monday from that. But I know for a fact I wouldn't been able to go to Montana and New York twice and Chicago and Florida if I was on the 2 a.m. to 2 p.m. to 2 a.m. to LMNOP schedule.
And
Yeah.
TBD.
Yeah.
Dependent on weather. That's the thing. You've been through so much, and a lot of it is so difficult, especially when you do work those kind of schedules. So this has allowed you stepping out of broadcast and into some of your new endeavors.
Right. In my life, I was not in my life. I have nannies and babysitters that were really helpful and they were great at everything. And I missed them.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about those endeavors.
Yeah.
You know, let's talk about what you've been doing just in the last couple of years, because I know just from talking to you briefly, you are working on some really exciting things.
Well, I before I get into the meat of what I've been working on, I want to just give a shout out to a couple of the boards that I'm on.
Yeah.
That's another thing that, you know, we're going to keep channeling this back to TV and the things that I've been able to do now that I'm not on TV anymore. But Black Warrior Riverkeeper is huge, but they're in the news a lot lately from the coal ash and, you know, lawsuit, and we're holding polluters accountable. And some of these polluters have a lot of change in their pocket. And I appreciate that, but
we want clean rivers.
we would like clean waters, creeks, rivers, and streams. And, you know, Birmingham is in the watershed of Black Warrior Riverkeeper, and that's the highest populated town in Alabama. And so we're making some really positive strides there with Black Warrior Riverkeeper. And I've recently been appointed to be the vice president of the board of directors.
Oh, awesome.
So we'll be announcing that soon. And then, of course, Goodwill is amazing. Recently, we've had a little bit of an incident. You may have heard about it. there was a break-in at the Goodwill. Some vandals came in and took some forklifts and made a mess out of it, which was completely uncool. And it impacted everybody at our location. We had a board meeting that day, but donations from the community have really helped out. Just, all we need is donations from the community, and we can start to make more jobs and build more areas. And everybody knows they have extra clothes. And so that's the two boards. And, honestly, I've been on boards before, and you probably have too, but it's so hard to be on a board with a full-time job.
Yes.
And I'm like,
and family life.
And I'm not saying that because I want to continue to be a kept woman. No, I'm just saying I really enjoy just giving them my full attention and not, trying to do 10 emails at the same
and focusing on your passions. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And they don't mind that there's dogs and kids and cats running around in the background of my virtual set at home. They're okay with that.
Yeah.
They're completely fine with that. But speaking of my set, that's the next project that I've been doing. So, that we always love to talk about the way to get information out. Yeah. Severe weather information out.
Which is very important here, especially in Alabama, because so much of the community here live in areas or live in homes that are not well equipped for severe weather, specifically tornadoes.
I brought you both a little bit of literature today. I brought 2 pieces of paper. Well, I mean, this is important. So Dr. Laura Myers and I, from the University of Alabama, we've been working on this Vortex project, and there's honestly just so much information. These are some of the agendas from the resiliency summits that you've been to, but we have these interviews that we're establishing with households so we can really dive deep into how people are now receiving weather warnings, because there's so many different ways to get information, and it's changing every day. And if it's not live, then I don't understand how people are getting it. Even if there's a Wi-Fi delay, I just don't understand how people are getting the weather information. So this is the purpose of the study that Dr. Laura Myers and I are doing. And I'm going to put some information about Dr. Laura Myers on your podcast link, because she's in the College of Business. And so there's a particular way to find her. But ultimately what we're doing is we're doing pre-interviews and during interviews and post-interviews with households to talk about their risk and crisis communication and how it impacts them. But the bonus I wrote down this year, wanted to make sure that people that do participate in this project, they get a complete structural analysis of their house.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
For wind impacts. And so after they do the study, they'll actually know, like if somebody says category 2 hurricanes coming, you will know after this study whether or not your house can sustain that type of wind. So that's one of the highlights I wanted to point out. And so, there's about 65 to 70 questions on the main survey after people agree to be part of the interview, but we've done a couple so far. And to be honest with you, we have not had a lot of weather since I left.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying nothing, but I am the weather lady. I just wanted to just make note.
Alison and I were just talking
about that recently.
Had knock on wood, we've had a very quiet, severe weather season so far, and
makes me nervous
any time of the year here in Alabama. But we are heading toward the peak months, during the mid to late spring.
And so these interviews or these surveys that we're going to be sending out, or they'll be available in about 2 weeks. And so, I mean, this is going to happen if you want to be part of it during these events. And so you have to be a kind of a weather buff, or at least somebody who's comfortable with your severe weather plan. What is today or tomorrow is the tax-free holidays, today and tomorrow, right? Tax-free holiday. I'm just saying, I work with the State Department a little bit. I'm just
it's a great way, if you are able to help out with this, it's a great way to just help other people down the line, because this kind of stuff is so important to keep people safe.
Yeah. And the communication, I think, between Dr. Laura Myers and myself and the participants is awesome, because what I'm doing, Adrian, is during the event, I'm forecasting the weather. And so I'm basically their private meteorologist to kind of see them through it. And that's been a good feeling. It's a better feeling than being on TV, just talking to somebody who loves the weather and wants to be part of something bigger and is asking me questions about, troughs and it's exciting for me, even though they're not meteorologists. They're people that are interested, in meteorology. And so there's so many different benefits. And like I said, I'll give you the link to that. And there's there's other things that we're going to be studying, and we present this information as well at the emergency manager summits. The one thing I've noticed, Adrian, I've been to 4 emergency manager summits since I've been away from TV.
Mhm.
And I haven't run into a lot of TV meteorologists there.
And you know what?
Crickets. But here's the problem, right, Adrian?
Well, they are the communicators.
Here we
They
go.
are the communicators
Okay. Yeah.
to the public. And so that is a very important
I saw
group
my
of
last
people.
summit was in Auburn.
Yeah.
It was that, and Ashley Gann was on a panel, chief
Mhm.
meteorologist, former chief meteorologist of 42. She's the PIO over for the safety department now at Auburn, but she was on the panel
Mhm.
and it was good because the questions that we were asking her came from myself and Dr. Laura. So we knew what we needed to ask, but we need more TV meteorologists to come to these meetings. And,
Well,
and it's
Hopefully we
serious.
have some TV meteorologists listening that can step up and
Take the day off or make it happen.
offer some help.
It's
Yes.
like a game of telephone. If you tell someone a message and then it gets spat down the line and then it comes to you eventually, it's going to be distorted or delayed,
Mhm.
And so I think a lot of this is about making connections with emergency managers and different people from across the community stewards that are at these meetings. And you have to make time. I had to learn the hard way. You have to make time.
Other than obviously plans with your new man. Congratulations.
Uh-huh.
Refer to my notes. I get so nervous with the personal questions.
What are some goals that you're looking forward to achieving personally, professionally
Okay.
through the rest of 2024 and beyond?
Well, yeah, so I got some notes, right? I got
Uh-huh.
the engaged thing in there, because I
Yeah.
have 3 dogs and a cat as well. We have 3 pit bulls and a cat and a tuxedo cat. And my son is going into middle school, but so is my stepdaughter, my soon-to-be stepdaughter.
Ooh, exciting.
Yes, her name is Jillian, and I just wanted to, for the record, say that her team, the Pink Panthers, just won the volleyball tournament.
Awesome.
Oh,
recently.
congratulations to the
Yeah,
Pink Panthers.
Go Pink Panthers. Just won some serious stepmom points as well. But I think one of the things I'm looking forward to is seeing this Vortex Project through. It's a 3-year study, and so we're, it's the key ingredient to this study this time around is going to be me forecasting the weather to give the people at the university and the crisis management centers usable timelines. I mean, Adrian and I can tell you right now, because we had to work with the time constraints of just the corporate structure, we had to really follow along guidelines and show times as well in order to present information, and
Yeah.
so with the way that things are changing and the way that people are cutting the cord or whatever, or AT&T was down this morning, but that didn't mean just cell phones. That means that everybody who had Uverse
Yeah.
was in trouble. Okay. That meant a whole lot more. And, I have barely been on the internet, but I've heard some rumblings that it was a solar flare. So it'll start as a scientific meteorological conversation and it'll be news by the end of the day.
And so the Vortex Project, and to hit on that really quickly, that's very important here again in the state of Alabama. And what they're trying to do is study some of the tornado patterns here in the southeastern U.S., including Alabama, to try to provide better warnings and provide more lead time to those storms heading to your location. So you have more
This
time.
was the previous one. Adrian and I have been, we made ourselves familiar with this one because it wrapped up in 2018, but because it introduced us to HRRR and several different forecast models that help us a lot more to establish forecasts. But these projects work.
Yeah.
It's already worked. I mean, a lot of the information that we used, it could be something that is as small as or as large as the polygons. Instead of storm-based or county-based warnings, it's storm-based warnings. And so, but all of that takes research and it takes a lot of people hours in order to study how people respond to it, because this is all psychological. This is why it's called forensic meteorology, because we're looking into these people's lives, where they are on that day. Did their kids come home from school?
Yeah.
Did the teachers get emails? Did you get a phone alert, or however it happened? All that data is going to be put into a data bank, and then we're going to dissect it to hopefully increase not just awareness, but, if we present this to the federal government, there's no way they can deny us federal funds when we're in a disaster, because this is what we need.
With the ultimate goal, obviously, to save lives.
Exactly. That's it.
Yeah. That sounds awesome. I mean, a lot of it went over my head because all this like meteorology talk, but you
She's
know,
such
it
a
sounds really
fibber.
great.
You
You
stay
know you
very
like
busy,
it.
Harmony. You're always doing something.
You are.
And you're a well-respected member of this community.
Oh.
I think a lot of people look up to you. You obviously maintain that presence on social media.
It's tricky. Social media is going to be tricky, Adrian. And so one of the things that the biggest thing that I notice on social media since I've been off of it is that there's the pack mentality will always win. That's very scary. It should be terrifying for everyone. You know, I mean, it's basically like follow the leader.
Yeah.
You know, and if you're not in the leader, then, you know, tomatoes start getting thrown at you
Yeah,
and shame on you.
Yeah.
And going against the grain and being original and creating things is so important. And I still, that's my burning question behind, you know, spreading weather information. I still want to know why everyone feels like they want to be a content creator, because it's creating an enormous amount of digital garbage.
Yeah.
And not to say that you're not talented with your sweet dance routine, but I mean, you know, I'm a certified Zumba instructor. I was a cheerleader, and I did dance when I was young, and I'm not doing dance routines, and I
won't
can
see
shake
Harmony
it.
dancing.
There's one video of me dancing, and apparently people do like to see me dancing because it's me at the Magic City Classic doing the wobble on my Facebook reels. And that was the last reel I did because I was like, well, can't go anywhere but down from there. It's up to about 9,000 views, I think, but you can't go anywhere but down from
We'll
the
have to
wobble.
check that one out.
Yeah.
We'll put
Yeah.
a link.
You
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
You did it up to 10,000. There's no prize. There's no prize for being number one, which is another thing I really like about being a regular person. And I wouldn't consider myself a consumer of social media. I would consider myself a producer.
Yeah.
And when I observe social media that's in my feed, I try to do my best to not, you know, stir the pot or feed the fire. But depending on my mood, sometimes I will. So, you know, now I can make those decisions on my own. You know, I'm the company that I want to start, and hopefully eventually you guys will be on my podcast, is going to be called Weather for Women.
Okay.
Okay. And no matter what, you're outnumbered. So you're going to have to fall in line. Okay. You know, you got Laura and Allison. And that's one of the things, though, that we have noticed about the Vortex Project is the woman, the lady of the house who's in the house is usually the one who's in charge of the weather information and tries to spread it out to the group. That's just an observation. I'm not saying anything except for the truth.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to start there.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
Well, we look forward to seeing how
really.
that goes. And of course, all your other endeavors over the next year, 2 years, 5
My
years.
nerd
10
projects.
years.
Do you know how I like the Nerd Lab, Adrian?
Of course.
Okay.
There's
And
nothing
we'll
wrong with that.
always keep following the weather lady.
Thank you, Allison.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so guys, how does somebody get in touch with all or any of you if they have more questions?
You can get in touch with me, Allison, at info@eaterfw.com.
Okay, well, thank you guys, and thank you for listening today. Please like, follow, and share this podcast with your friends and family. Until next time, I'm Wendy McConnell.
Thank you for listening to the BamCam podcast with Jack Burnett and Alison Castellano from Eater Financial Wellness, a financial advisory practice at RFG Advisory. To get in touch with us, visit today's show notes or go to our website at www.eaterfinancialwellness.com. That's ITER financialwellness.com. And please click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available.
Content here is for illustrative purposes and general information only. It is not legal, tax, or individualized financial advice, nor is it a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold any specific security or engage in any specific trading strategy. Information here may be provided in part by third-party sources. These sources are generally deemed to be reliable. However, neither our guests nor RFG Advisory guarantee the accuracy of third-party sources. The views expressed here are those of our guest. They do not necessarily represent those of RFG Advisory, its employees, or its clients. This commentary should not be regarded as a description of advisory services provided by RFG Advisory or performance returns of any client. The views reflected in the commentary are subject to change at any time without notice. Securities offered by registered representatives of Private Client Services, member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services offered by investment advisory representatives of RFG Advisory, LLC, RFG Advisory or RFG, a registered investment advisor. Private Client Services and RFG Advisory are unaffiliated entities. Advisory services are only offered to clients or prospective clients where RFG Advisory and its representatives are properly licensed or exempt from licensure. No advisory services may be rendered by RFG Advisory unless a client agreement is in place. RFG Advisory is an SEC-registered investment advisor. SEC registration does not constitute an endorsement of RFG by the Commission, nor does it indicate that RFG or any associated investment advisory representative has attained a particular level of skill or ability.